everyone, well, we're back at last. Still where we were standing at the end of the last video, but all sorts of stuff has happened in between. I honestly don't know where the time's gone. I had my annual trial, we had visits from friends, we had visits from my daughter in the UK, but anyway. So back to where we were, which was to put the forks and the fork shrouds in. So before we can put the forks in, we've got to rebuild them. So let's go and look at that. So here we have the Enfield fork. As with all telescopic forks, it's got a slider at the bottom. The Enfield ones were very early on alloy. In fact, they might even have been alloy all the time. Can't remember. Somebody will have to tell me that. Like the AGS Matchless. While BSA Triumph was still using steel sliders, they were using aluminium ones. Then you have a stanchion, or a fork tube as it's called here, with a spring up the middle of it and a damping mechanism. So what I'm going to do now is bring you in, and first of all I'll show you the component parts of this damping mechanism. I'll mention before we go any further that telescopic forks are inherently a bad design, because as I say, you've got this sliding up and down inside that, but this is fastened at the bottom end on the wheel spindle, and actually you could say the point of contact is where the wheel touches the road, and at this end it's fastened in the fork yokes. So the frame is always trying to do one thing and the wheel is trying to do something else, so it's constantly trying to do this, which is why we have bushes. Now Enfield, if you like, here are a little bit transitional, because although they've got the alloy slider, they still have two bushings, a steel bushing at the bottom and a bronze bushing at the top for the actual movement there. This bushing for the tube sliding there, and this bushing for the tube sliding in the bottom. Later forks, you'll notice when you take them apart, tend to be where the whole stanchion is basically a sliding fit inside here. There are no bushes. The whole thing just slides up and down. Okay, so let me bring you in and I'll show you this damper. Now a damping mechanism is in there to stop the forks just pogoing up and down on the spring. So that when the spring compresses, it doesn't just go boing, boing, boing. So what you need is somewhere that will allow the spring to compress and then slowly uncompress. So it's not just working on the harmonics of the spring itself. And that's done with oil damping. Now, you'll notice in the stanchion here, there are holes. There's 3 of them in this one. 2 small ones and 1 big one. It varies from fork to fork. And you may remember on the BSA ones, I actually drilled 1 extra hole in to help the forks, because they were for a trials bike, be a little softer in the way they worked. Now this is a pretty standard damping mechanism. So what it is a damper rod, which also has a hole in it. Then on the bottom end they have, come out, wherever you are, there we go. You have to have some way of restricting the flow of the oil. If you just had oil in the bottom, it would go squirt, squirt, and the forks would still bounce up and down. So what you need is, there are various ways of doing it, shuttle valves and things like that, but what they generally turn out to be is something like this. You see the holes in there? You can maybe see them better in this one. Those holes are to allow the oil to go through. But what we have is a washer that goes on there, and this washer, as you'll see in a moment, can lift off. So it's almost like a one-way valve, although not exactly. So on the Enfield forks, this is the damper rod, and you can see a different diameter there, and there's a slight taper here. So on the bottom we have this piece here, which as you can see also is tapered. That goes on there. Then this piece with the holes in goes on there. So now when that goes onto there, the holes are blocked off. And when it comes up, again, it has one of these damping washers which goes on there with a little circlip to hold it, and that can flutter, if you like, in the as the oil's going up and down. Then at the top end we have another clip to hold things together, another washer, goes on there like that, and then a nut to hold it all together. So that's how you put this together. As I say, it's pretty simple. When you look at modern cartridge forks and all the rest of it, it's just a plain ordinary shuttle valve type of damping tube. But anyway, that's the Enfield one. So if you've got to take it apart, that's all your bits. Now, what we're going to do next is put it all together. Alright, let's actually put the fork together, which, just as the shuttle valve, is relatively simple. So we've got our top bush on and our bottom one, which is actually a press fit. So next thing we need to do is fit the damper rod. Oh, well, we've put the spring in. I've already put the spring in. So then we put the damper rod in and slide this piece up to screw it into there. Fine threads. Don't you hate large diameter fine threads? They seem designed to be annoying. And you know, if you get it wrong, it takes absolutely no pressure whatsoever to ruin the threads. Come on now. Behave yourself for the nice viewers. There it goes. Now I don't know if you've noticed before, but it has the little bits in it, the little notches for a C-spanner. So if any of you buy Hagen shocks, I'm not sure if this happens with other ones, you get a C-spanner with it for adjusting the shocks. And I've got several of these, so I keep adjusting them so that they fit all sorts of things. I maybe should have adjusted this one a little bit better. Get in there. I just made the little tang part a tad small. I should have this in the vise, of course, to screw it up, but there we go. So let me shut you off for 1 second. See, it's screwed in, but I'm just going to hold it slightly in some soft jaws and give that the last tighten up. Right, I'm back. Now, as you can see, that has put that shuttle valve solid into the bottom of there, and the damper rod can move up and down So when it gets right to the bottom, it's going to close off with that, because don't forget the oil's down here. So the oil's going in through there, it's coming out through these holes. It's got the other damper valve, shuttle valve, which is on the end of this rod. So what we're going to do next is put this into the fork, and then we have a nut that goes on here on the bottom to hold this end of the rod solid, so everything moves on that. As you can see, it's all pretty loosey-goosey, but that's the way Enfield made them. So now we put that into there. As you can see, the bottom bushing is a nice fit. Then we have to get the end of our, there's a little bit of muck still in the bottom of there. It's just coming out now, let me push it out more. See the end of our damper rod starting to come out. So let's get this bushing in. We'll knock this bushing in further before we finished, of course. Now we've got enough threads showing there. I'm going to screw this on and use it to pull the damper rod through, because it's quite a tight fit in that hole. Is that the right size? Yes. Now we'll take that back off. You can see now more of the damper rod showing through. So we can put our washer on. Just tighten that up. Pull the damper rod the rest of the way in till it's tight in the bottom. Then we need to put this bushing on, for which we need a little piece of tube to go on to just bump that on. I should have had all this together, but there you go. Let me switch off again. Well, I did it again, got carried away and forgot about the camera angle, so you didn't see everything. So I had to scrap the last little bit because I was talking away about things up here and you couldn't see a damn thing. Okay, so the last, we've got this in, we've got it bolted in the bottom, everything like that. So the top bush now gets knocked down onto there. So to do that, you need a nice long piece of tube or something that will go on. I'm using an aluminium one here so that I don't batter the bronze. And you just down that on there. So now the last thing we need is something to keep all of this from coming back out and to keep the oil in. So we need an oil seal here. Now the Enfield ones are slightly unusual. There's the original one. It's actually got the oil seal in here. There's a little washer that goes on there against here, and it all comes as a unit. You don't just buy a new oil seal, you buy one of these, which now look like this. Now you'll notice it's a lot deeper. Instead of having the flats on, it's got a knurl on, and of course I didn't find out, say, about the filming until I'd finished. This was an absolute bugger to get on. It's got, I don't know if you can see into there, It's basically got 3 oil seals in there, which is all very nice and well for keeping the oil in, but getting it on is not easy. In fact, trying to get the other one on, I got the wire spring out a couple of times and had to put it back on. It was an absolute bugger to get on. So you missed a lot of cursing and swearing, which I probably would have edited out anyway. So what you have to do now, as with all oil seals, is we put some oil in. These actually are, I've already oiled them once, but a little bit extra oil won't do any harm. And as I say, it's like a fibre washer that's in there, and you hopefully get this on the top. Let me look again, can you see that? No! Go, strike it light, Michael. It's actually all the way up there, look. Alright. So I found with the other one that if you try and put them on absolutely straight, oh God, oh, Jesus, it's only a bloody oil seal when all's said and done. Man, this has been overdone, and no mistake. Am I in yet? Nope. Who on earth needs 3 bloody oil seals for a fork? A twin lip one is quite sufficient. God! The other one went on slightly easier. I think I'm going to have to put this in the vise and put another piece of alloy tube in here and maybe try and tap it on. So, as I say, to save you all the bad language, I'm going to get this on. Right, there we are. One set of forks, new oil seals. One thing I will say about these, the threads were very nice, which can't be said for a lot of the Triumph ones you buy. They're screwed straight on. So now all we've got to do is put these into the frame. Alright, we'll start with the one nearest to you. So, there is a nice little chrome trim that goes at the top. It's got rubber inside. I've made up a new rubber to go in there. Then it has a big washer on it, and then this fills the gap up there. So let's see about getting this on here. Then we have a 5/16 bolt. Of course, it's meant to be crushing that rubber at the top. There's that in there. Come on, you little brute. In and out to the side, lad. There we go. And that's going to go in there like so. Get a fork. Make sure we get the right one. Make sure the brake torque thing is on the inside. And that's going to go Up in there. Make sure we get a little bit to the top. This is where end fields are a bit awkward. Ow! Because you can't use a draw bolt to pull them up. You've got to get them in. And then hope that they'll thread in. Which this hasn't. Go on. No. Excuse me if I get in the way here. What the hell's the matter with this now? Let me just slacken that pinch bolt off a fraction. Oh, I haven't even put a nut on it yet, so it's a pointless exercise, isn't it? Bits of dead skin coming off where I caught myself the other day. I'm falling to bits. Now why isn't that going up into there? Alright, just talk amongst yourselves. Let me find a torch so I can see what the hell's going on. Do. We haven't come all the way up to the threads yet. You know, this is turning out to be another one of those 5-minute jobs that takes you an hour. Why isn't that going all the way up there? Where's the other one of these? Yeah, goes on. But it's a close fit, so I'll bet you any money it's one of those instances where you've got to be absolutely spot on to go through this top washer. Least little bit off and the stanchion won't go through. So the question is, do you want to watch me fighting this for the next 10 minutes? Or shall I just turn you off and come back when I've got it in? I think that's an idea. You can just see the washer there sticking out. So there's the first one in, tightened up with our 1/2-inch Allen. And actually what it was here, it wasn't the washer, but the rubber tube that I'd made the new sort of cushion in here. The ID was just that fraction too small, and of course, you know, even lubricated rubber's got quite a grip, so I couldn't get the stanchion up there. Found some thinner walled tubing, put that in, it all went together straight away. So that's all tightened up, and don't forget when you're tightening this up from the top, it's the opposite way to the bottom. So there's that in nice and tight. When we put our oil in, we can put the nice little chrome plugs that go in there. So let me put the other one in and bring you back then. So there we are, one set of forks in. One entire afternoon later, oh hang on, I haven't tightened that bolt up. One entire afternoon later, a lot of cursing, a lot of swearing, a lot of annoyances, but they went in. So I've had enough for today. Next video we'll be putting some nice shiny red front mudguards in here, and I've got all the bits now for the swinging arm, and I have got a brand new shiny set of Hagen shocks for the back, fat ones as this one had on them. So in the next video we'll do that, we'll get a real splash of colour on it. But until then, thank you all. Look, black, see, I really do the work. Thanks to everybody who watches, everybody who subscribes, everybody who makes comments. I really appreciate it. So until the next time, enjoy yourselves.